The Last Assignment by Lawrence Vert, Victory Pulp Edition, narration script. She was afraid. She held tightly to his arm and kept repeating to herself, "One last assignment, just one last assignment. Then he'll be home to stay. We'll be married, and maybe he won't come back." Suddenly she stopped and looked up at him. "When will you be coming back?" "I don't know," he answered quietly. "A soldier carries out orders." "But you didn't have any orders. You volunteered." "Yes," he said slowly. "I volunteered." They walked on through the park. It was the last hour of his furlough. Soon he would report for the special job he had chosen. "You have enough points to be discharged," she said softly. "Yes, more than enough." "Then why volunteer for something you won't tell me about?" He stopped and guided her toward an empty bench. "Let's sit down." A woman pushed a baby carriage past them. He watched her disappear into the trees before speaking. "I've wanted that," he said, nodding toward the carriage. "A home. Kids. I used to dream about it lying in a foxhole." He paused. "I guess I ought to tell you why I volunteered." "Since Sunday night, December 7th, she whispered. "That's when you decided." "Yes, and that's a long time to plan a wedding that never quite happened." He smiled faintly. "I wasn't the only one who volunteered. A lot of men did." "Why did you have to?" she asked. He hesitated. "You've never really asked what it was like over there." She shook her head. "It was in the jungles of New Guinea," he began. "We were thrown back by a wild Japanese charge. I was hit in both legs and couldn't move. The enemy spotted me when I tried to signal for help, and they started using me for target practice." She gasped. "You never wrote that." "There wasn't any point." He closed his eyes briefly. Then a tall kid, one of the colored construction outfit, ran out under fire, picked me up, carried me back to our lines, bullets all around him. I owe him my life." "What happened to him?" she asked softly. "Jungle fever," he said. "He made it to the hospital, but he didn't make it home." They sat in silence. Finally, he glanced at his watch. "That's why I volunteered," he said as they stood. "I volunteered to fight jungle fever. My assignment is at the Army General Hospital." She searched his face. "Working in a hospital? That isn't dangerous." "Yes," he said. "Something like that." She relaxed. "You'll write?" "As often as I can." A touring car pulled up at the curb. He kissed her quickly. "Goodbye, Jean." As the car drove away, he leaned forward. "Army General Hospital," he told the driver. "You sure?" the man asked. "Railroad station's the other way." "The hospital." The driver studied him in the mirror. "You volunteered for something special, didn't you?" "Yes." "What's wrong with working in a hospital helping wounded men?" "Nothing," he replied. But when the driver made a bitter remark about serving certain soldiers, the young corporal stiffened. "They were good enough to fight and die," he said sharply. "They're good enough to be helped." The driver fell silent. At the hospital, he was directed to a rear room filled with soldiers. Soon a colonel entered. "At ease, men." He looked at them carefully. "You have volunteered for a job more dangerous than anything you faced in battle. You have offered yourselves for a series of medical experiments to help find cures for jungle diseases." The room was still. "If anyone wishes to withdraw, you may do so now." No one moved. "Very well," the colonel said, lifting a sheet of paper. "As I call your name, step into the next room." The young corporal thought of Jean, of marriage, of home. The names began. Corporal James Buckley, Sergeant Vincent Toglia, Private Marshal Grant. Then, Corporal. He heard his own name. It was his last job in the Army. He stood and walked into the next room. The end.